The button is pushed. We are live for the 19th time in March. And you would never know because we went a week. We did not do a show Thursday, Friday because Willie forgot his podcasting equipment. And also his leg was in throbbing pain from flying down here to the beautiful Sunshine State. And we didn't do show. And the people are happy we're back. It's good to be back. Way too long. We got so used to doing a show twice a week that was long.
A week, and it feels like a month. But the trip down there to Florida felt like a month. The whole stretch felt like a really long time. NCAAs, we did a ton of shows and we did a ton of content, and it still feels like my plate overfloweth. I got, NHSCAs was this past week. I got to do the final state tournaments were the week before. I got to do all the high school rankings, the final high school rankings, then redo all the new big boards for each class and the final ones for high school. Dapper Dan was last weekend too. A couple key results there. But new evaluations for everybody, final senior big board rankings, which is the time to get it right. And then RAF was awesome. And
RAF is great.
Yeah, I mean, the point is, it just don't stop.
It don't, and it's like, excuse me, the season wind down, and it was a little bit nice last week because we had a little fodder. We had some coaching news, some portal news, which we'll dive into today. But overall, it wasn't the chaos that was last year. Last year, the portal being open during NCAAs, that Sunday, Monday, Tuesday after was a brutal transition. This year was a little bit quieter. So, William, I don't know where you want to start, but let's dive into news that happened last week to touch on it right away. Jay Robinson passes away at 79 years old, an absolute legend in the sport. He trained he wrestled at Oklahoma State, was on the 1972 Olympic team for Greco. Then he coached at Iowa for, I think, 14 years. When Gable got hired, Gable hired him as an assistant, and they created that dynasty of like 7 straight titles in a row, something like that. And then he took over Minnesota for 30 years. And, first he led the Gophers to be the first program that non-Iowa or Oklahoma to win multiple D1 championships. They won like 6 Big Ten titles. They had 14 individual champs. Obviously, his camps are what a lot of people reflect on. So many stories of wrestlers that went to his camps and still have his shirts, and an absolute legend in the sport.
Yeah, and sort of a forward-thinking guy. He did a lot of different creative stuff, worked with media well, had a... he worked with... Before wrestling started old school, and they haven't been really co-entangled with media, and they're kind of a group that the old school guys stay away from media, and that's not why we do it and stuff like that. But I mean, J-Rob went out and like kind of solicited Jason Bryant and a couple other guys to like start a regular show. It was short-lived and stuff, but with his camps, with everything, J-Rob sort of was a unique thinker and problem solver that way. And, he impacted a lot of lives. You mentioned the Olympic team that he was on, and the Olympic team that he was on was like 1 year removed, 6 months removed from him getting back from Vietnam. I mean, this is an old, tough soul, one of the toughest dudes to ever do it.
Yeah, he was. And there's so many different things, like even the chat saying, first coach to get 10 AAs. I went to his 28-day camp. He knew how to light the fire. J-Rob intensive camp. There's just, no matter where you are in this sport, as an athlete, as a fan, like J-Rob's one of those names that and you might know it for very different reasons, but he's just an absolute legend in the sport. So that's terrible.
And even even his departure from Minnesota, some people that aren't a fan of Minnesota will find the fault in it. Well, there was guys on his team that were selling prescription pills. Oh my God, that was under his watch. Uh, kids, kids do stupid stuff, right? I find it, instead of blaming him, I find it pretty valiant that he fell on a sword. He coached there for 30 freaking years, and he fell on his sword to protect some of those guys. He could have done it a different way. In today's day and age, those guys, those guys let the kids get in trouble and save their own hide. And J. Rob didn't do that.
Yeah, for sure. So RIP to an absolute legend in the sport. Had to talk about that to start the show. Willie, would you like to?
Yeah, I've had. First of all, I flew back from Tampa at 6 o'clock in the morning. I didn't sleep that night because the card got done at 11:30. By the time we got back to the hotel and everything, it was 1 o'clock in the morning, and I had to be at the airport at 4:30, and so I just stayed up the whole time. Got back home, slept all day. I slept. I don't even know how it's humanly possible to sleep that long, but I did. And so I woke up this morning with all the J Rob stuff, and then a bunch of text messages saying, "What happened to J Rob? How did he pass? Why did he pass? How did he die?" Uh, he After he left Minnesota, after he aged quickly. So I don't know for sure, but I just think it was old age. Like the last few times I saw him, he was elderly.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, Willie, would you like to talk RAF first, or would you like to talk transfer portal, or would you like to talk coaching?
Well, let's talk RAF first. I kind of lean portal. It's goofy because I think RAF will be a quick talk, but I think, oddly enough, I think portal will be a quick talk too. I don't.
Yeah, I feel like all of it could be. I could listen. This was my first RAF event. I could stretch it into a 2-hour show because.
All right, well, okay, then let's talk portal first because that seems to be most of what the chat is talking about. But I also think it'll be a short session, a short topic because there's just not much we know yet.
It doesn't officially open until Wednesday.
Right. So the only guys that are really technically in there are guys that are grad students, or fifth and sixth year guys, and everything else is speculation. You want to speculate on things. Put something in the chat, and we'll talk about speculations. But there's nobody officially in yet. It's going to take a day or two till it opens up, and so right now all we have in there are a few graduate students. The one most people are talking about is Ryan Crookham, and speculation on some of the Stanford guys.
Yeah, so Crookham officially hit the portal. I know Will Betancourt told me he hit the portal. He got his year back from Ohio State, so he's hitting the portal. Ryan Crookham, after 4 years of Lehigh, is hitting the portal, and there's a lot of chatter about why, and I think it's one of those things where at certain colleges, once you graduate, which Crookham is doing, either you don't want their grad programs or you can't get in, or one of the two. And if you want to keep wrestling, you have to go somewhere else.
Sometimes they don't have them for you, right?
Yeah, so I don't think this is a situation where Crookham's necessarily unhappy with Lehigh. I just think sometimes when kids graduate, it makes more sense to transfer, which is why, you mentioned, will some of the Stanford kids transferred? I reached out to a couple, haven't heard an official word yet. I know some of those Stanford kids are definitely being highly sought after. What are your thoughts on Crookham? So I assume Crookham will go at 133, and the two most common names in the comments were Iowa and Michigan for schools. Michigan has been known to kind of be a mercenary for these transfer portal kids and get some of them, and they've had good success with them. They also need a 133-pounder. Iowa as well, with Drake graduating. If DeLuca's going 125, then you could see Crookham sliding there at 133. What are your thoughts on where he may land?
I'm not sure. I talked to his father a couple days ago. Well, I say I talked. I texted with him, and he was real buttoned up. I mean, he was real close-lipped. He didn't give any details or anything. I mean, I asked him, I said, did Ryan graduate? And he said, yes. And I said, what's his plans? And he said, good question. And sort of left it at that. So the Iowa thing, I'm bringing up Iowa first because everybody in the chat is saying Iowa. Iowa makes so much sense. And it makes sense in terms of personnel plus whole. Ryan Crookham, elite, at his peak, elite 133-pounder. Iowa, big hole at 33 after, Drake graduates. However, and plus, Iowa, known to be active in the portal, known to have high dollar amount offers. Iowa known to have the means to get an elite guy out of the portal. That being said, I don't think that Crookham is very concerned about the money. I mean, his family is pretty good in the money department. I think that Ryan. I don't think that I was out of the question, but I don't think that Ryan is looking for a payday. And I would imagine that Ryan, I mean, remember, this is a kid that was elite that stayed home. He stayed home to go to Lehigh in the first place when he could have went to any number of legit programs. Legit, I shouldn't have said that. Any number of big offer, big NIL. He turned down huge dollars to begin with. Right? So I don't think that I was out of the picture, but I don't think that's what motivates Ryan Crookham. I think what motivates Ryan Crookham is probably, where can I get the best grad degree?
And I asked him if he had any places in mind that he wanted to share. He said, I got a couple in mind, but I'm waiting to see what programs reach out and go from there. So it's not like he's entering the portal to hit a specific school. He's going to be looking and seeing and trying to figure that out.
Michigan kind of makes sense. They've been really active in the portal, and
they've had success with guys in the portal too.
And also Michigan's graduate department, their academics are very good. And they have a need at 33 as well. I mean, this year they had Gage Matero, a true freshman who's really a 125-pound prospect. And they have Moses Mendoza coming in, but I think Mendoza is probably a 41 long term. So Crookham would, for a year or two, would be really nice fit at Michigan. I honestly don't think like a Rutgers would be out of the question. Depending on what programs they have, it's really close to home and less than an hour away. If they have the right programs, he might be a good fit. And there's a spot at 33, maybe even 41 for him.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting. We'll see. Again, I think we're going to see a lot more portal activity this week as the portal officially opens and now that the dust has settled from NCAAs. Also, I'll tell you, Willie, who's not going in the portal. Caleb Campos.
Yeah, I love that.
American U put out a statement over the weekend. I'll read it. A statement from Caleb Campos, who just took fourth at NCAAs at 184 pounds. He said, I thank God for putting me in the position I am in today, because without him, I wouldn't have been able to find my second family here at American. Here, we all encourage one another to work towards a shared goal individually and as a team. AU has provided me the opportunity to build lifelong bonds that will have a lasting impression beyond my time here. I believe in this team and the coaching staff, as they have also believed in me from day one. I want to continue making history with them, and I will. I'm excited for what's to come. Proverbs 3:3. Caleb Campos, EIWA champ and All-American. And I love that because, I tweeted out that it's like, first of all, if you told me, Willie, that someone from a smaller program like American would have a All-American in the top 5 at 184, and the gauntlet we've talked about all year, that's just such an incredible thing to do. And right away, there were, I'm sure you heard the fodder and the chatter that schools were very interested in him. Would he hit the portal? And he's not. He's sticking around for his final year at American, and I love that. I think that should be celebrated.
I love it. I'm old school, old man. Get off my lawn. I don't like. Well, two things. There's what I like, and there's a really rational. There's a really rational response that I have. The one is I just don't prefer guys chasing money, guys having a good tournament for a smaller program, and then leaving to go chase the money and being picked up by power programs. I don't believe that. I don't like that smaller programs develop guys, recruit guys, develop guys, produce the guys, and then lose them.
Yeah.
Because power programs have the money. I hate it. I don't think it's great for the sport. And frankly, I think it's ugly on the part of and desperate on the part of the power programs. Oh, we couldn't develop a guy. We couldn't recruit and develop and produce a guy at 184 pounds. So let's go pick off the guy that the little engine did. The little engine could do it.
And that's why Clear the Mats in the chat says, do love that about Campos. Why does he have to post about it, though? I'll tell you why. Because people are trying to poach him. People are trying to get him. That's why they're putting out a statement. They're not going to put out a statement unless they're not trying to already go after him, and he's making it abundantly clear, I'm staying here. It looks great on the program. That's why.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's a big vote of confidence for AU. This is a guy that was a no-star recruit that went there, developed. Now he's a thing. Everybody's trying to poach him, and he's coming out with a statement that he loves it there and supports them. And that's what you're finding fault in? No, that's a big free advertisement and endorsement for AU.
100%.
You shouldn't be poo-pooing that. What you should be poo-pooing is all the programs that have reached out to him illegally to see if they could poach him. That's what you should be poo-pooing. Because what do you think's going on behind the scenes? Behind the scenes, there's a bunch of teams illegally contacting him. So yeah. There's that, and then but that's my personal response. That's my personal opinion. But here's the rational opinion about it. The rational defense of it, the rational argument that's not biased, that's grounded in fact. If you are successful where you're at, why would you want to change that up? If you are successful where you're at, why?
Well, we know the answer because schools
chasing because of money.
Because schools reach out and offer a bag, and for these kids, it could, depending on what an amount looks like, it could change their life when they're offered.
Yeah, I'm just saying it's not.
I get what you're saying. I'm telling you the other side of it is that's why they're doing it. It's not because. If Campos left AU, it wouldn't be that he doesn't have trust in his coaches. It would be that somebody offered him a big enough bag to take him away. So I love that he's not even entertaining that, and he's sticking around. I think that's awesome.
Yeah. Need better partners. What do you mean need better partners? Need better partners in what? The dude just took freaking third or fourth in a weight class that was a monster weight class. We've been talking all year that 33, 57, 84 were the best weight classes. Caleb Campos, whose name nobody knew until EIWAs, takes top 5 in it, and you need better partners. You need better partners for what? He just did the damn thing without him. So often that goes sideways, by the way.
Yeah. All right, so that's a little portal news. Well, if we do a show Thursday this week, I'm sure by then you'll start getting kids in the portal. There'll be more to talk about with the portal. Let's talk before we talk RAF. Let's just talk a little bit of coaching news because last week
Williams, Nasir Bailey, A8 year 1, true freshman, A8. It's not always better going forward.
Yeah,
it's not always better transferring.
All right, so some coaching news. One of the biggest ones I tweeted out last week, and a couple of
hold on. We got to talk about the Stanford guys real quick. Just wrap up the portal talk with the Stanford guys. The Stanford guys, a lot of them are in a unique situation where they graduate, and can they get into the grad program? Do they want to transfer? And it's really weird out there. Listen, I hope all of them stay. I'm not even clear on which guys are graduating or which aren't. Like Nico Provo 100% is graduating. I don't know if that's the same situation with Garvin and Norman and what, but Nico Provo is definitely graduating. And so there's a lot of scuttlebutt. I hope they all stay. If you project out their lineup, and that's another thing I have to do is next year's crystal ball look. But if you look at their lineup and everybody stays that's there, I mean, they could be a podium team. They really can. There's a path to it. They were 6th this year. Can they get 2 spots higher? I think they certainly can. You expect, like, Nebraska is losing some key guys. Iowa's losing some key guys. And if Stanford retains all their guys, they could certainly move up into the 3-4 spot. I'm not saying they will. They had a perfect tournament this year. They'd have to get some guys back and have a pretty damn close to perfect tournament next year as well. But nothing is guaranteed. And if you talk about potential, can they podium? Yeah. You can see a path to them podium. So I hope they all stay. But there's a possibility that Provo could leave. There's a lot of talk that Garvin could leave. I see a lot of people on Twitter especially saying Garvin to Iowa is a lock. Garvin to Iowa is a done deal. I don't believe so. I don't think Garvin goes. If Garvin goes, I don't think he goes to Iowa. Last summer, everybody and their brother that was on the inside. I mean, everybody said Cardenas to Iowa next year. Cardenas to Iowa next year. Cardenas to Iowa next year. That is happening. That one Cardenas to Iowa is one I buy. I buy that. Not that it's happening. I buy that it's a possibility.
Yeah.
Garvin to Iowa, I don't. Not for 1 second do I believe that. So, I just think that's a major rumbling. What's going on with the Stanford guys? I hope they all stay. But I just wanted to get that in there before we move on to the other stuff.
Yeah, and again, I think we'll know more this week on some of these things because if these guys are hitting the portal, they're not going to wait very long, especially now that they've had a week, 10 days after NCAAs to kind of do some preliminary feeling out. So more to come on that this week. All right, a little bit of coaching fodder, some coaching fodder.
I
tweeted out last week that we were going to get big news. I thought it was big news, and some people did not like it because all they care about is Iowa news. But John Reeder stepping down at Wisconsin, it's not often you've seen associate head coach just step down and leave the sport. John announced that he's stepping down. He's going into working at a roofing and construction company. Got an amazing opportunity financially and kind of an awesome situation for him and his family. So he's stepping down. And, I kind of initially was going to tweet along the lines of like setting the coaching carousel in motion. And you said, well, don't say that because people are going to think head coach. And, that makes sense. But it does start this. It doesn't start a coaching carousel per se, but it did start all of a sudden the what jobs are opening up conversation starts, and what jobs are going to be, what jobs will be opening up, what jobs, who's going to move where, and we talked about, I think we talked about a week or two ago that Bobby's stepping down in Iowa, and that's going to open up. And again, it's a lot of like these side text conversations of who's taking this position. And I keep getting roped into group chats with Willie because somebody will say, who's taking over for Bobby? Who's taking over for Reeder? Who's taking over for this guy? And Willie just responds like this with a name, and that's that. Like, Willie's just got all these coaching moves in his head. Some are announced, some are to come, some might not happen.
Yeah, no, they're going to move up Garrett Model. I believe they're just going to move Garrett Model up into into assistant position. So that's what I think is happening there at Wisconsin. There are some other moves though, that are happening. It's not my place to.
Yeah, you don't really want to. Yeah.
There's going to be a significant move at a top ACC school, but I'll let that come out when it comes out. Bobby Telford leaving Iowa is one we've already discussed, and that's been a rumor for a while, and it seems as time goes on, it seems to just keep being reinforced that is a thing that's happening. So, there's been a lot of Yanni was mentioned to replace him. I don't think
that's happening. That's not.
I thought that was dubious from the start, and then Nick Wisdowski has been rumored as a replacement for him, which sort of makes sense in the fact that one big guy's leaving, another big guy would make sense, but I'm not so sure that that's going to happen either. I would assume that whoever it is that replaces him, Telford on staff, I'm assume it's a big name and a guy with a lot of cachet. That being said, I don't know who it is. I know who it's not because people keep saying names, and I'm like, I don't know. I keep looking into it, and like, no.
Well, and I think too the thing with Iowa, like, there's two schools of thought with a lot of coaches I've talked to. They would be very interested in the job if it was a move where they would be next in line for the head coach position.
Well, I think that's it's a weird situation in that Tom only has a year or two left on his contract, and Iowa had a really rough year. I mean, Tom is on record saying it's the most challenging year of his career. They 100%, Iowa has 100% taken more criticism this season than any in their history. They lose a bunch of key figures, and if you project their lineup now, they'll certainly potentially get some portal guys. But if you project out, next year's lineup isn't better than this year's. So this year's got a ton of criticism, and they're supposed to be not as good next year. So about how much criticism are they going to get next year? And now you're trying to attract an assistant with an incumbent staff that's might only be there a year or two. And so I don't want to say go down with the ship, but like let's say let's say that it's one thing if you pitch to Yanni, you come in and we leave, you get the job. You're coach in waiting.
100%.
That's one thing. But it's another thing if the pitch is come in here, okay, well, what's the runway? Oh, well, we're going to retire in a year or two. What? And then what do I do? Right? So, I don't know. I don't think it's the best environment.
Well, what's likely going to happen to Iowa if they do get rid of Brands? I think you'll see a similar David Taylor situation. You'll see a big name come in, clean house, and build a program, build the staff. So if an assistant comes in right now, let's say a Yanni, let's say a Ramos, whoever, and then Iowa, a new coach comes in and says, "You're awesome, but I want to build my own team based on guys I've worked with and this and that." So it is a tricky situation on what they're going to do there. And they haven't announced officially that Bobby's done. I don't believe they've posted the job yet, which I know for some schools you have to have it posted for like 2 weeks. So, yeah, not sure what's going to happen there. Hayden Hidley, that was one more move. Hayden Hidley announced he was stepping down at Stanford. He will be going back to NC State, reuniting with his brother Trent, his family. He's having a baby, I think later this summer. So they're moving back with family. It's a great move for him. It stinks for Stanford.
There's another opening. So Stanford's going to have an opening with an absolute awesome cast, and they have at the same time that we talk about Stanford having a lot of guys that could transfer out, they simultaneously have a really young core. They got some good recruits coming in. Knox has a couple years left. Consiglio was just a freshman. Aiden Valencia was just a freshman national champ. Angelo Posada was just a freshman. EJ Parker was just a freshman. So they have a lot of young guys. And so with Hidley leaving, there's an open spot on a really talented young team.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll see what happens there. I think that's kind of the coaching rundown.
So people keep asking about Yanni. Why would Yanni make a parallel move?
Yeah, if Yanni goes on staff as assistant coach, it'll be at Cornell.
And I think that's the move. It hasn't been announced yet, but Scotty Boykin's leaving Cornell. leaving Cornell. So the move is to put Yanni on staff there.
Yeah, and I don't think Yanni will go to be an assistant somewhere else. I think Yanni could stay as an assistant at Cornell until one of these big programs or big opportunities comes along, and then it'll be the same experience, whether it's Cornell, Stanford, Iowa, wherever. But yeah, I don't expect we'll see Yanni leaving Cornell.
Good question by Jay Bell. Don't all NIL deals have to go through the clearinghouse going forward? Technically, yes, but who's policing it? I mean, there's a lot of college coaches that go, how are these schools offering these big bags of money when they have to go through NIL? Or even more naively saying, well, there won't be these big NIL deals because it has to go through the clearinghouse. Yeah. You don't think these guys are cheating? Get real. You don't think there's duffel bags on the side being passed around? Get real, guys.
Yeah. By the way, just like a school can also say we'll give you $100,000 a year, and then $1,000 a month of that is a car that they don't have to pay for. It's not a deal. Is not always just the monetary cash. It's also what the deal is worth. So, there's a lot of things happening on the side in some of these deals. We've talked about that at length on many, many shows. All right, you ready to talk a little RAF?
Yeah, let's talk RAF because it was an awesome show. listen, the environment, I I don't know how it appears on television. The last couple I haven't watched. I haven't watched the replays, and I know there's some criticism about the commentary, but that's all I know about how it's perceived on television. The atmosphere in the arena, the last, well, for almost all of them, but the last like three shows has been just like hair raising. Like the environment and the atmosphere inside the arena at these events, the past few, has been awesome. I mean, this was your first one, so you tell us what your
Yeah,
experience
so
was.
this was my first RAF experience, and it's funny. I've been to just about every wrestling event that there is. Olympic trials, world championships, NCAAs, Jersey States, who's number one. I've literally been to just about every event. Growing up a WWE fan and going to those types of shows, this felt much more like that. Like, I got to the arena at about 5 o'clock. The event wasn't until 8 o'clock. And it was a kind of a combination of watching what everybody was doing. Watching, first of all, the Jumbotron, the big screens are awesome. And watching the level of production. I have never in wrestling, in freestyle or folk style wrestling, seen this level of production where guys are doing walkouts, like trial walkouts 2-3 hours before. They're doing rehearsals for things that you just don't typically see in wrestling because all those details matter. And seeing a glimpse of everything from, and I'm not saying some of these components aren't at other events, but seeing everything from the entrance rehearsals to the rules meetings to the production commentary teams and just watching every detail. Honestly, I was very impressed, and I was arguing with a couple people yesterday because they don't like some of the nuances of RAF. They don't like some of the gimmick matches. And I've been one of them like, oh, whatever, it's kind of lame. But being there completely changed my viewpoint because I understand the arguments. I understand if Snyder and Taz are wrestling, they should be the main event. They're two Olympic champs. I get that. But I'll tell you what, when Armin walked out and Colby walked out, and when every single person in that arena is standing with their phones out and kids are running to the side, trying to get as close as they can, you get a glimpse of it a bit more. And you see things that you don't kind of see. I mean, that, first of all, Florida, you didn't kind of really know what you were going to get with freestyle wrestling in Florida. That crowd was absolutely electric. From the right out of the gate with BB, that crowd was going nuts, roaring for BB.
Yeah, I mean, that's the crazy part to me is that, and I turned and I mentioned to Justin when it happened. I'm like, can you wrap your head around? I don't know, 6,000 people. It was pretty close to sold out. Can you wrap your brain around all these people going absolutely bonkers for Johnny DeJulius and Connor Beebe? I mean, it's not. We got Snyder Tazadinov later in the card. This is not Snyder Tazadinov. This is Connor Beebe and Johnny DeJulius, and the crowd is absolutely bonkers. And I myself said, I've been vocal, like, yeah, I'm not thrilled with the Muggsy Bulljunks and the Giorgio Poulises and some of the UFC guys that are on the thing. But people are. That's not me. It's not what I want. But it's what the people want. And it's what the people want that makes for a great environment, makes for great viewership, and in turn, I mean, when you're talking about an economic model, in turn, it makes the Armin Giorgio match makes possible the Snyder Tazadinovs, the bringing in of Kanchingishvili, the signing of Gable Stevenson, uh, the financial ability to feature Wyatt Hendrickson multiple times, the Kyle Dakes. So the whole ecosystem of it is scratching each other's backs. You get the influencers, you get the UFC crossover guys, and then you get the elite of the elite Tazadinov Snyder type matchups. And so it's all working sort of symbiotically to have the highest level. I mean, you'd be hard pressed to name a match more important to make than Snyder Tazadinov. And I'm not sure it's feasible without some of the influencer matches that the greater fandom is excited about. So, yeah, there is the purest matches that I love that people in this chat probably love. But there's a greater world out there.
100%. And like Elder Brad's in the chat, 100% wrong, saying, bro, nobody cares about Colby Covington versus Dylan Dennis. You might think that.
So stupid.
You might think that until you get to the arena and you see the phones coming out and you hear the pop, you hear the roar for Colby coming out. You also, like, it's so funny. I tweeted it last night because some of these old heads, these wrestling purists that are like, I don't want this garbage. I don't want to see Bo Bassett wrestling somebody who won Olympic gold 10 years ago. Guess what? Every single professional wrestling league has tried and failed. In come this new group, Eric Bischoff, Chad Bronstein, all these guys that are trying to make something sustainable. There has to be give and take. They're looking at this from different lenses. They're looking at this from an economic model that's sustainable. They're looking at this from a television model. They're looking at this from, guys, even... It's funny, like, I look at this from a marketing perspective, and as an example, the fact that Fox Nation and Fox News continue to ante up with how many resources they're throwing behind this, Kennedy Blades suplexing a Fox News host live on air went completely viral. It went completely viral all weekend long. You had monster mega accounts and every conservative pundit on planet Earth talking about it. Those types of moments, those elements happen when you're setting this up the way they are. And not every, like, listen, I leaned over to Willie in the middle of the event. And first of all, my hospitality was incredible. I was sitting next to Willie, working the event. Matt's side was awesome. So I'm definitely looking at it through a lens of, like, peeking behind the curtain. And I leaned over to Willie halfway through and I said, could you imagine if RAF gets to a point to where after the U.S. Open semis, there's a week off, and then you have the U.S. Open finals as an RAF event. Imagine RAF 17 is the U.S. Open finals. That's what everybody wants. That's what everybody wants. Everybody wants RAF, and they want the U.S. Open finals. They want Final X. It takes time to build something. It takes time.
That's the funny part. That's the it's so funny that it's like the dumb they don't realize what they don't realize. It's like, oh, I only want the people only want the top left. They don't want Giorgio Poulos. They don't want Connor Beebe. Really? Because there was 6,000 people cheering their heads off. There's kids running around like crazy, loving every minute, loving the pomp and pageantry, and hanging on every takedown that Colby Covington and Dylan Dennis make. Okay, now do the U.S. Open. Now do the U.S. Open, where it is the creme de la creme of the United States wrestlers. Where's the crowd there, guys? Where's the pomp and circumstance there? Where's the kids running around like nuts there? You act like we don't get it. You act like we don't get the creme de la creme of American wrestling on a stage. We do. It's called the U.S. Open. It's called Final X.
Yeah, And you know what?
It exists. It already exists. And you're asking, why doesn't RAF continue to do that? It already exists. You knuckleheads.
Yeah, and it's like, first of all, Armin is a specimen. I was like 2 feet from that guy, and I will tell you that if I was making a short list, people on planet Earth I would not mess with. He's at the top of that list.
Yeah, don't mess with
he just, when he said in the press conference, if you talk about my family, you will die, I will kill you, whatever he said. Like, I looking in his eyes, I believe him. That dude is like,
you should believe him.
He might be one of the baddest people on the planet. And I'll tell you, it's funny because even listening to like people outside the arena after, I was waiting for my Uber, and I'm like, I heard a father-son talking, and the dad was asking his son, what was your favorite match tonight? He said, Armin. The way he finished that match was incredible. Like, those types of things only bring more eyeballs to Snyder versus Taz. They only bring more eyeballs to Dake versus Parker. RAF is never going to replace what the U.S. Open and Final X and the World Team Trials are, because they're completely different. When you, number one, a tournament's different. Number two, when you have the process to make an Olympic team, it's going to look different. But for a product that can live in junction with what the U.S. system is, I thought it was an awesome event. I thought the entrances were awesome. I thought, listen, even what they're doing behind the scenes, Aiden Sinclair, after his match, I don't know how it came across on TV, but his ability to just open up, haven't really seen that from somebody like him. In college wrestling, you get a real quick interview and it's done. But this energy, I think Izzy and Chad and Bischoff, these guys are doing such an awesome thing. And I will tell you, I was talking to Shane Sparks about it after the event, because he said, Justin, I didn't really have a positive or negative viewpoint on RAF before. It was just kind of existing. He's like, I came here, I get it. Like, I absolutely get it. And
dude, Shane was on cloud nine. I talked to him at length at the hotel afterward, and he was like, bro, being here in person is just different. This is one of the coolest things I've ever been a part of.
I thought that arena was awesome for it too. The way it's kind of vertical, like the seats go up really quick. It's not like one of those. It kind of reminds me of being at Lehigh in the snake pit. Like that noise, it gets loud in there, and those pops. And man, that Armin match was one of the most exciting matches I've watched mat side. It was awesome. Awesome event. I would highly recommend, if you're within the area and you can go to an RAF event. Like, if you're a naysayer, maybe I don't get it, just go to one of these events. It's an awesome, and by the way, I will also say too, some of these people, it costs $2.99 to stream it this weekend. The amount of criticism that a $3 product can get is absurd. Like, give it time. Somebody was saying that, like, you should never have a main event that's not the title fight. Guys, have you watched WrestleMania? Have you watched the WWE? Have you watched how they've incorporated Mike Tyson and guys in the past? Like, first of all, it takes time to build prestige around a title. It takes a title changing hands. It takes history. You can't create a belt out of thin air and have it mean something to the world. As guys win it, defend it, changes hands, it becomes more and more prestigious, and it takes time. RAF is 7 months in. 7 months. It's brand new.
Yeah. And like, it's interesting that a lot of the wrestling purists, I don't know, they find fault in it, and then they poo-poo it a little bit, but the numbers are awesome. Look at the numbers. I mean, you can't look at the numbers, but we know the numbers, and the numbers are freaking awesome. And the numbers of viewership builds to the end. I mean, if you think that people, and I'm talking about this, I'm talking about every card, and it's certainly provable. The numbers suggested it in card 1 and card 3 and card 4 and every event. The viewership builds to the end. It builds to the end. My point is, if you were correct and say nobody cares about Armin Giorgio, Okay, did the viewership drop off after Tazadinov Snyder? If you were correct, and all that people care about is the blue chips of the blue chips, and nobody cares about the other stuff and Colby Covington, then after Snyder Tazadinov, the viewership probably dropped off to damn near zero, right? Wrong. Wrong. It just kept growing until the end.
And not a single person in that arena left.
You don't know what you're talking about.
Not a single person in that arena left before those two, like UFC MMA guys or those matches with the MMA guys. Nobody left. Not a single person in the arena left. And that's why I said, like, going there and feeling it and seeing the excitement. Like, for RAF to succeed, it's not the 50, 60, 70-year-olds they need to appease. It's also the 10, 15, 20-year-olds and the kids going. And, like, when you look at the audience that some of these guys like Armin, even like Giorgio or like Colby, the audience these guys have, they know what they're doing. Just give them time. And by the way, I will say this too, because I think RAF sometimes catches flack for certain matchups that happen. And I will say that there's very different mindsets from these wrestlers in RAF. Some only want, like, Snyder has no interest in wrestling an MMA guy. Snyder wants to wrestle the best wrestlers in the world, and that's why the Taz match happened. Taz
and on
thinks,
the flip side, right?
Hold
on the
on.
flip side, like,
yeah, so that's where I'm going. Like, Snyder only wants to wrestle the best, so Snyder Taz was able to be happen. On the flip side, some of these guys only want to wrestle a crossover, or they only want to wrestle a hypothetical matchup that you probably wouldn't otherwise others see. Like, even
David Carr, like, only mentions UFC guys.
yeah, like David Carr wants to wrestle UFC guys. Even when Chael was so good to see Uncle Chael. When Chael was interviewing Bo Bassett, Bo said, like, listen, I want to see Real Woods at Final X. I don't need to see him here. I want to go see this guy. Or what about Henry Cejudo? Like, listen, guys have different mantras. So especially for right now, these wrestlers coming in have a bit more say on who they want to compete against, where if this is 5 years from now, it might be a little bit different. They might tell a David Carr, hey, you can wrestle UFC guy. You're also going to wrestle Messenbrink or O'Toole first. You know what I mean? Like, so I do think there's some flack RAF catches that's strictly wrestlers having a bit of say right now on who they want to compete against.
Well, they don't have total final say.
No, not total final say, but I'm saying, like, they see Bo Bassett wrestle somebody and they're like, oh, why would RAF make this happen? Well, guys, RAF's also communicating with the athletes. I'm just saying all the flack shouldn't fall to RAF. For some of these, like, they'll be, you know, Bo Bassett, who was manufactured in the lab for the bright lights. I tweeted that this weekend. Watching Bo Bassett Matt's side was so fun this weekend. The way he is a nut during the match, pointing to his corner, pointing to his mind, like going like this to his dad. Like, the kid was manufactured with the bright lights. But sometimes if you see a match like Bo teching someone and it's like, ugh, RAF couldn't give a more competitive matchup. Like, there's more to it than just a dream list of matches that RAF wants to see happen.
Well, I mean, the bottom line is, here's the bottom line, is that Izzy and the team that puts the matches together, me, Lance, Ben, and Chad Bronstein, and determine a card, I think we do a pretty solid job of, here's a few legit world level, we want to see this happen for the wrestling purist, and then sprinkle in a couple old school guys, sprinkle in a couple local legends, sprinkle in a couple influencers, sprinkle in a couple UFC guys. So it's not by mistake. It's not by mistake that there's a good mix. We don't put a card together. We don't put a card together that features no high level bouts and all influencers. And it's not like if David Carr's going to wrestle Bilal Muhammad, it's not going to be on a card. It's not going to be on a card with zero other legit purist matches. All right. So,
Willie, $9.99 super chat, Lions fan 95. Thank you. He says we need an RAF in Michigan.
Yeah, you know, Michigan's Michigan's clearly in play. We got to find the right arena. Michigan's really weird in. I mean, we looked at it. And we continue to look at it, but Michigan has like a really weird venue situation where we're trying to find the right venue in Michigan.
Yeah. It was also cool too. So Willie's sitting right next to me, and Willie's computer will give you a headache because I'm one of the fastest people on a computer I know. But I'm very singular. I like having one or two things open, and I'm lightning fast with it, and it's why I've been able to grow my company for the last 20 years in this world. Willie's computer is the opposite. Willie has 500 things open, 400 different group chats, and his brain is like a ping pong ball bouncing back and forth on them. One of them...
Hot corners, baby. You got to have hot corners because hot corners allow you to get to where you need to go immediately. You want to...
Well, Willie just also doesn't ever close anything. But all that to say, Bash was on his phone all night. I'm tweeting. I'm doing things. All that to say, Willie's group chat was fascinating with some of the RAF guys because it was really cool to see how much they're critiquing while they observe and trying to think where they can make adjustments, whether it's talking about the officiating during a match or like they're observing, but they're also critiquing very, very quickly in real time. And that also makes me bullish for how this will continue because it's like, as an example, one thing that jumps out in my mind, the DeJulius BB4 and whether or not that was 4. And then some people saying they need challenges, but challenges also completely kill the product. You can't have challenges that just slow down the product. We just saw the NCAAs. We see it all throughout the college wrestling season and especially when you're talking a TV product, it's just very different. So watching these things happen and getting a glimpse behind the curtain at how they are critiquing and wanting to adjust in real time, it's cool. I'm far more bullish now about RAF having gone to an event than just watching it on TV as, a consumer.
Yeah. 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 And, we continue... These guys continue to evaluate everything and make changes and, talking about considering challenges, maybe considering challenges for title matches only, considering some kind of hybrid system where we come up with it on our own, where it's not a true throw in the brick, send it to a jury. I mean, maybe something different that's a little bit more expedient, that doesn't take a whole lot of time, that doesn't kill the crowd and the energy, that doesn't confuse fans at home. We're taking all that into consideration, but again, it's card 7, and we're learning as we go too.
Yeah, and Willie went back and forth from dealing with some of the officiating to some of the streaming stuff to some of the commentators asking him for help. And it's funny too. Some of these guys, like they're so passionate. It's so cool to see. Like Taz came over to the head table area because he was confused at the end. He's been on a card before, but it didn't get brought into circumstance where the last point mattered. And the last 30 seconds of the match, if you were watching Taz Snyder, you kind of knew that Taz probably thought it was like UWW criteria takedown wins over just 3 1-pointers. And so Taz came over, and he was kind of like bummed because it was like Izzy came right over and was trying to tell him, like, remember, criteria here is last point scored. It's not who had a takedown. You saw, like, the nuance in some of those things. I don't think Taz was pissed. I don't think he was pissed. I think he was bummed. He knew the rules. They had like 3 rules meetings.
Yeah, we had rules meetings all multiple times. I mean, remember at the last card there was that JO and Bo grounding rule confusion, and so this time we met with the officials. We met with the officials a second time, and then we had the officials meet with the athletes and go over everything. And to me, Um, to me, the Taz thing was kind of weird because Taz has wrestled in this. It wasn't his first match in RAF. He should have been abundantly clear that criteria is last point scored. And his coach was yelling to him he was losing. And there is an underline on the scoreboard, which I saw him look at. There's an underline on the scoreboard that tells you you're losing. So I'm not poo pooing Taz. Did he look at the scoreboard and say, that's not right? Because the scoreboard clearly had it right and for a long time. And I sometimes you get confused in the heat of the moment. I get, but when there's a mistake, when there's a snafu at RAF, like I'll say it, I thought Caddy had 4 on Dake and not vice versa. I think that Connor Beebe should have got the points against Johnny DeJulius.
DeJulius even went to Twitter and said that. I think he went on Twitter and said, like, thank God there's no challenges in RAF or something like that.
Yeah, I think Armand clearly had the takedown in card 1. I think that was a 2 and not I don't think it was a 2. I know it was a 2, and I think they screwed it up. Okay, so I'm not going to defend everything. I'm not going to deny that sometimes officiating gets a little wonky. This one, however, was not our fault. It was not. This is not on RAF. This is not on anybody but Taz getting confused in the heat of the moment.
Yeah. A lot of praise for Shane Sparks in the chat.
Parker should have got points on Dake. That's a popular opinion. So. That is wrong. Dake never exposed. His back was not close to exposing. I disagree with that one.
A lot of praise for Sparks. We teased that on the show a couple weeks ago, and I didn't want to put it out until RAF did, and then RAF never put it out. And I was talking.
RAF never put it out.
They never put it out, and I was talking to Shane before the event, and I said, Shane, did I miss even? I knew you were coming here, but did I miss them telling you? Did I miss them like saying that you were on the team? And he said, no, I don't think they ever put it out. So we put a graphic out, and it got a lot of praise. So I'm glad. Shane, I watched a little bit of the broadcast yesterday, and Shane and Chael are the dynamic duo you never knew you needed until you listen to them. So I got to watch the whole event. It was a long night. Like Willie said, I live about an hour away from that arena. And I didn't get home till like 1:15, and then I was up at 6. So still got to find time to go back and watch it. But I'm definitely curious to see. By the way,
let me just go over some. Connor Beebe beat DeJulius, Trent Tech Downey, Nolf over Mastulov. I thought that. Like the last time Nolf was out, he got beat by Wick. And so I'm not saying that the two opponents were comparable, but Jason Nolf looked like he was moving a lot better. Jason Nolf looked 1,000 times better. And I'm not just talking about because he got a tech. I'm just talking about, I think it appears to me like I think there's a chance that Jason Nolf got back on the wrestling mat and started training wrestling again because of RAF, and now he's like really back.
Yeah, 100%. That match against Evan Wick, too. Like, you kind of take that match. He was on the first RAF card back in August, and you take that first match, and you don't really know what to expect. Maybe it's just a one-off match. Now he said in the press conference, listen, I'll be honest, I don't really care to return to try to make an Olympic team or world team. I just want to be the RAF champ. And
I think that's great. It's certainly great for us to have
100%.
guys saying, I don't care about making a world team. I want to be the RAF champ. That's a big shot in the arm. That's a big endorsement of us. There's also some freedom of it. Like, Jason doesn't have to go through a trials process. He doesn't have to worry about beating A, B, and C. He can establish himself in RAF and just focus on that. There's some freedom in that. And I'll say something about the Mastulov. He trains with Kamzat. He trains with Sarukian. He trains at DC's. He's a champ in his promotion that he's in A1, and he's undefeated 6-0. And he's not a wrestler or a pure wrestler by any stretch of the imagination, but I got to say, hats off to him for taking the match at the 11th hour. Salkazanov was really sick, and Nolf Salkazanov was one. That was one of my favorite bouts on the card. Salkazanov is about as technical as anybody in the world right now. He's really, really, really good. Really stingy. He's done everything for he not a diva at all. Hey, wrestle 175. Okay, I'm in. Wrestle 165. Okay, I'm in. No questions asked. Doesn't care who his opponent is. I love Salkazanov. It's easy to work with. He's one of my favorites. And also, he brought me a bottle of Russian vodka, which was awesome. But he tried to tough it out. So he wrestled his last match in Tampa, and looked great. He totally had no problem with Keegan O'Toole, up a weight at 175. He goes and he trains in Jersey a little bit. He trains at Chance Marstellers for a while. He trains at Nittany Lion Wrestling Club for the last couple weeks. And then he gets sick. The day he flew, he started getting sick, wasn't eating. I didn't know any of this until weigh-ins where I'm not going to say what he weighed in, but he weighed in. So at official weigh-ins, we have one guy, Claudio Torres, my man Claudio Torres. He does the weigh-ins, and they step on the scale, and they announce the weight. He announces the weight, and I log it for us. And they announced what Salkazanov weighed. Claudio says, Tashmiraz Salkazanov, what do you weighed in at? And my head peeked up, and I was like, that's not right. That's not good. That doesn't make sense. Because he was underweight. So then afterwards, they said he was very sick. So this wasn't a case of a diva who had a hangnail pulling out at the last moment. Salk was really sick and really upset that he couldn't wrestle. So what I will say about Mistulov is I was sort of really impressed, both in the past, and I think this card showed several cases of that. So these Eastern European Dagestan guys, it's like in their DNA, man. Like they're not scoring on Jason Nolf, but like Dudieva, they're not scoring on Kennedy Blades, but they know what they're doing. Like,
that was one of your biggest impressive moments. Was you're like, look at how fast she turned down.
like Dudieva turning down and avoiding exposure points on Kennedy Blades. If you picked a UFC fighter that's from America that never wrestled, that girl would have gave up 4 to Kennedy on every one of those doubles. Not these Eastern Europeans. Mistulov would have gave up 4 every exchange. Not these guys. Even Sarukian, Sarukian knows what he's doing. And I saw Kurt Angle said Sarukian could compete in the Olympics. And I saw a lot of criticism.
What he said was, I think his conversation, I think he was misquoted. I thought what he said was at the Olympic level. I don't know. I think that's what he said, was that if he trained full-time, he could be competing at the Olympic level.
That I truly believe that.
I agree.
From the first time I saw Armin wrestle, I said, he's not normal. He's not a normal UFC. This guy has wrestling talent. Now, I'm not saying he can go out and win the Olympics. I'm saying if Armin trained full-time, or if Armin would have trained full-time wrestling 5 years ago, he would be 100% a medal contender at Worlds. And I'm not taking any of the people's comments. If you disagree, just feel free to disagree, but you ain't changing my mind. That dude knows what he's doing.
Yeah, I agree.
That dude has talent.
He was maybe the most impressive person there.
Just going through some other ones. Bo Bassett and Chingishvili. Bo just... I thought Bo would tech him because of his pace and his relentlessness and his heavy hands and everything. But I did think Kinchingishvili would have a moment or two, and he just didn't. Bo just overwhelmed him. And dude, Kinchingishvili is so small.
Yeah, I posted
Wyatt
the video.
over Hilger, Kennedy over Dudieva, Snyder over to Tazadinov. We kind of discussed. It was really fun match. Dake over Keckeisen. I think the consensus coming in was that Keckeisen's clicking really well, and Dake, is losing a step, and to me the matchup was sort of really hard to get a grip on. I see what everybody's seeing, but I also know that Dake is really difficult to figure out, and he's really difficult to finish on. And I said to Bash during the show that it's really amazing that Dake has the ability that when you take a shot on him, he makes it so you don't have an angle. He sticks you right in the middle. Like Keckeisen every time was getting stuck in the middle, and Keckeisen knows that, right? Keckeisen's able to make adjustments to it, but it's that Dake was putting him there, and he puts you there, and it's really difficult to finish on. Now, I did think the call was right on the edge. What I think changed the trajectory of that match was I really thought Dake should have been put on the clock in the third period. Keckeisen was taking a shot, and I know that freestyle passivity rules is not about how many shots you're taking. It's about holding center. So I fully understand that. Yet Parker's activity level compared to Dake's activity level, I think Dake should have been put on the clock, and that would have made a big difference.
Yeah,
so
by
that
the
was
way,
my takeaway.
I don't even know that many people are saying Dake's lost a step. I think the big question mark with Dake is being up at 86 when it seems like he would be so dominant at 79. And that's like 86. I tweeted out yesterday, like, who's going to be our 86 kilo rep? Because you had Parker beat Zahid 10-2, I think, back at RAF in December. That was Zahid's only loss all of last year. I don't think he gave up a single point at the World Championships. And then you have Dake beat Parker, but Zahid's gotten the best of Dake. It's going to be interesting. And Dake Parker very well could be a U.S. Open final. Zahid's sitting out in Final X. Dake Parker, that could be a glimpse of what we're going to see at the U.S. Open here later this month. Well, I guess kind of this month.
Yeah. Covington, Dennis, to me, I'll be honest, that was kind of – I wasn't super over the moon about that matchup, and I kind of was proven wrong. I'm not saying this because, like, I'm trying to be a company guy. That was kind of fun. I mean, there's a lot of points going up on the board. And both guys were scoring. And, I'm totally aware that these guys aren't world class wrestlers, but they both have big names, big brands, big followers, and the entertainment level was solid. I don't like when there's sort of an influencer type match and it goes out and it's a dud and it's 4-3 and it's push outs and shot clocks and stuff. This was entertaining. This was entertaining. And so I was kind of okay with it. Arman, Giorgio was a fun bout.
Arman finishing that match with a takedown, you could not script it, especially the way he did it. Getting a takedown and exposure, throwing him like that, you could not script a better ending. That blew the roof off that arena. That arena went nuts.
Arman getting a takedown.
We did too. I think we did too. I think we threw our arms up like that was just.
I did. You can see it. I saw a clip of it and I went, oh, because it sort of made the match. It certainly punctuated it. And again, for Arman's wrestling ability, go back and watch that 4. Go back and watch that turn. UFC fighters are not getting in that position. Watch the way Arman turns his leg in and then transitions to a back arch. American full-time American freestylers, a lot of them cannot do that. I don't care what you say.
Yeah.
That was
Um,
impressive.
Willie, I have a couple of random things, RAF, that we didn't get to yet. One of them is I love Trent Hidley's idea of a tag team match. We've been talking about that behind the scenes for a year now. You and I, like, just unofficially as like wrestling fans, how cool that would be. And I saw some boo birds like, oh, keep that in the WWF. No. Or WWE. No. Let's have that at RAF. Let's have the Hidley Bros versus Nolf and Nickel versus the Amin brothers at a Detroit card. Like, I'm all for that.
Yeah, I mean, we've been tinkering around. I mean, no, we haven't been tinkering around. I mean, the concept of tag team matches. We talked about it before we had a card. We came up with the rules for it before we had a card. So it's
Hey,
maybe a
Willie,
thing. I'm pushing it.
do you chat? I had a tweet that I put out before the event. Willie was taking a picture of something. And I tweeted out, what is Willie taking a picture of? And we got everything from kale cookies to Wrestler and Business Network signups to free Bud Heavies. Do you guys want to see a photo reveal of what Willie was actually taking a picture of?
It's glorious.
I will put it up on the screen. If the chat says they want to see it, it was a very funny moment. It was so fun watching so many people in wrestling play along and make stuff up. And now with AI, it's so funny how quick people can generate things. Like they take that and what was on the other side. Scotty Sentez had a couple of really funny responses. Let's pull it up. I don't want to wait for the chat because
Go ahead. Do it.
Chat's a couple minutes. Let's see.
I will say, but while you're getting it up, I'll say for the tag team matches.
There you go.
There.
It's on the screen.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
These Real American Beer girls were Willie's heroes. They were. I have never seen Willie so happy as I did for the. They were like doing.
Wow.
They were doing like a photo shoot for Real American Beer, and so they were doing in front of the screens, the center of the map. Like they were just there's a lot of content happening. And Willie's excitement for them was just, it's good to see your friends happy. And Willie was happy.
Okay, now I will say this. Hold on. I'll say this. Before the chat and the Twitterverse goes and says, Willie was straight being a gawker and a goober, and he's just drooling over these hot girls. I mean, first of all, that's fine. Say what you want. They were hot girls.
He's a single guy. He's allowed to gawk.
Hold on. There was a method. I wasn't just being a gooner and taking pictures and being a fanboy of hot girls. The reason I was taking a picture of it is because I wanted to take a picture and talk to the team and say, you know what? We have these ring card girls, and I'm all about the ring card girls. I think it adds something.
The chat's got some funny comments.
I know. Here's what I want to take a picture to the team, and I already told Terry, who's awesome. Terry is a CEO of Real American Beer, and she's awesome. And I was talking to her about it, but it wasn't straight being a gooner. What I want to say is, hey, we have these ring card girls, and maybe instead of having the ring card girls be in the outfits that they're in, maybe it's better if we have them in the Real American Beer get up with the long pants and the cowboy boots and the cowboy shirt, cowboy hat and the crop top. To me, it's a little bit more tasteful. It's a better look. To me, it's a little bit of better look than the ring card girls. Now, I might be.
The funniest
I don't
thing,
know.
well, those four little boys in the one corner disagree with you. There was one moment where the ring girls they come out with the sign, just like boxing, UFC, second period, third period. And one of the girls was in one corner, and there was like 4 younger boys. Like, they had to be, like 10, 11, 12, something like that. And they were just going nuts for her. Like, they were so happy. Willie was dying laughing. Dying.
Oh, dying. Yeah. So I wasn't, I wasn't just being a male chauvinist pig. There was a reason why I was taking a picture of him.
And he did say that to me too, because I was jokingly making fun of him, and he's like, I actually think that might even be better to do that. So there is truth to it.
Yeah. So that's what I was taking a picture of. And then I did have one last thing, but I forgot. Well, Heavy Bud said something. He said he disagreed with me about something. I don't know. Heavy Bud said he disagree with Willie on wrestling talent is like slamming your head in the door. It's stupid. I don't know what that means. Is that a shot at me?
I think it means there's no disagreeing with you. I think that's what he's trying to say.
Oh, yeah. Don't do it.
Yeah.
You'll lose. Well, I mean, do it at your own peril. I mean, you'll lose.
All right, so that's our RAF 7 rundown. There's a lot coming up. We have U.S. Open in about 3 weeks. We're going to dive into that as registrations start flowing in. I've been tracking them. There's really not a heck of a lot of meat on the bones there. As registrations start coming in, once Tight Mercury registered their guys for the seniors, we'll start looking at that, potential matchups that we could see at the Open. We got to do more portal talk. We're going to start talking more and more about coaching moves as those happens. And then it's going to be fun because aside from all that, soon here, Willie will start working on his crystal ball for next year. We'll start projecting lineups for top teams.
Yeah. How about so I got a lot on my plate. I got regular rankings, final high school rankings of the year. I got to do all the big boards. And I want to do a crystal ball. But how about maybe Thursday? Because the portal's going to be. I will do a crystal ball before the portal ends, because I ain't waiting 3 months to do it. But it's going to change. You could do the crystal ball today, and then tomorrow, a major factor transfers from one school to the other school, and it's a big change. But that's okay. We can update it. But how about maybe I get the crystal ball done by Thursday show? Maybe I don't. But at least, if I get the crystal ball done by Thursday show, we'll discuss it. If not, how about at least let's go like this, Bash. Thursday, why don't we discuss major programs and their holes for next year? What big programs need what weights?
I like that. I actually saw you started putting that in the show doc. Show notes doc. I like that. I think that's a good one. So let's talk that. And by the way, chat, if there's topics that you guys want us to cover in the quote unquote off season, really the freestyle season is just starting. But let us know. We've gotten really accustomed to doing 2 shows a week. We love doing it. We've been having a lot of fun. So let us know if there's things you guys want us to dive into and talk about this off season, or preview for the freestyle season, stuff like that. So yeah, I'm pumped. I gotta see if I can come up to. RAF 8 in Philly, but I saw my good friend
with you.
What?
Yeah. I'm just saying, with you got like the best seat in the house.
Yeah,
and you got
by far
behind the curtain. If I was you, I don't know how you don't come to every one of them. If we
I was sitting in.
Sit there.
It was, if I remember correctly, it was Chael, Shane, and Pena all doing commentary, and then it was the rules officials, and then it was Willie, and then it was me, and then it was the in-house PA announcer, and then it was
Jazz, who's awesome.
Jazz is awesome. And then it was in-house production team. There's only like 8 or 9 seats there. It was by far and away the coolest seat. You could hear the coaches talking.
Yeah.
But RAF 08 is in Philly the same day as my good friend I just got to run into at RAF this weekend, Jacob Casper, Julius Creed, said WrestleMania is that weekend in Vegas.
Oh, yeah, it is.
So WrestleMania is that weekend in Vegas, and then I don't know if I can handle like a 10-day trip to Vegas. Do you do WrestleMania in Vegas, then stay for the U.S. Open? Because the U.S. Open starts like 3 days later.
Yep, I am so nervous. I just want my freaking leg to be functional. I really want to go. Last year I missed the U.S. Open and the cadets, and I hate it. I hate missing it. I don't want to miss it 2 years in a row, but I also don't want to be in Vegas hobbling around on crutches. And dude, this
poor Willie. There was a moment where Willie had to get up and run during the show. There was an issue with like streaming and YouTube or something. And Willie's truly, and I'm not just saying this because he's my friend or he's co-hosting this with me. He's truly the center of everything. And everybody is like telling Willie, like, you got to go tell so-and-so, you got to tell so-and-so. And Willie's sitting there with his broken ankle up on a backpack trying to rest, grabbing crutches, trying to fly around. I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy is running to see Bischoff in the back mid-show with his crutches.
I was the Usain Bolt of crutch walking at that moment. And no, it's just, if my leg is hanging down, which it was on like 12 hours, 8 hours worth of flights and sitting at airports and stuff. Anyway, my leg was down for hours and hours and hours, and for like 3 days, and it was brutal.
And that was after traveling. Willie and I didn't even get to get dinner Friday night because he was in so much pain from the travel.
Yeah, so I don't know. I really, really want to go to Vegas, but I hope this. I have a doctor's appointment in a couple hours. I don't even know what it's for. I think maybe the stitch is out. I don't know. You should see the incisions.
No, you don't want to see them. They're disgusting.
They look like giant caterpillars. I was not expecting that at all because there's cuts on each side, and they're
just had to not bruised. So fast, my friend Nick Costco. Could do the old Lee Corso. Not so fast, my friend. He said, "I'm taking your seat in Philly." Not so fast, my friend.
So somebody was asking about the Dapper Dan and NHSCA's. Maybe we'll get to that in a few, maybe the Thursday episode, just some of the highlights. And if not, we'll certainly get to it. We'll certainly mention some of those results when we go over either rankings or senior big boards or something like that. But
I had my most annoying tweet response. I've had a Twitter account since 2011. The end result of the Dapper Dan provoked the most annoying response to a tweet I have ever gotten in my life. A guy told me that the guy told me I had put out, let me put the exact verbiage out. This is how we'll end the show. I tweeted out a new number one in the country at 190 pounds is number two Adam Water takes out number one Michael White 8-7. And this guy said, and I quote, "Dude, Mikey was not taken out. Was he beat? Yes. He was beat, but if you watch the match, and obviously you're only interested in clicks, it was Mikey's match. But push the narrative. Go ahead. You need the money." What? To about 18 different things in that tweet.
Yeah. All of them. What are you talking about? By the way, we brought up the match. Me and Basch watched the match. Basch was thoroughly aware that it was a good, tight match where it was back and forth. There's nothing wrong with saying a number two took out a number one. I just, what these people are.
By the way, I say like takes out. You don't want to say beats in every graphic. So it's like, if somebody beats somebody, they took him out. There's only so many verbiage you can use for that. It's like, who cares? He took him out. He beat him.
Everybody's in their feelings.
And it was 11:30 at night on a Saturday, so I don't know if the guy was hammered and just taking his anger out. He was an Indiana guy. No, Larry, it wasn't his mom. It was an Indiana wrestling guy. So he was just mad that White is an Indiana boy. So he was just mad his Indiana boy lost. But
When a lower ranked opponent beats a higher ranked opponent, you're allowed to say, and often say in sports, they took out the other guy.
The favorite thing you do.
Welcome to sports.
Yeah, you're following me for more sports is my favorite sign off.
Oh my god!
Like I saw another guy another guy pulled up a tweet when I said Lightning Luke into the finals. He takes out Troy Spratley 8-3, and so
I know you're confused about this. One's confusing too. You're allowed to say it in several different circumstances.
Right. All right, that's the show.
Yeah.
You guys rock. We'll be back for another show. 4 o'clock tonight.
Thursday?
4 o'clock when Magazine will be on Flow to announce the Hodge winner. I think it's Messenbrink, but that's later this afternoon. All right.
That was my pick.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.